Babylon 5 has always been one of my favorite science fiction anything ever. Books, novels, comics. I loved everything that was coming out with that in the mid-90s when it all was kind of at its peak. The storyline of it was absolutely beautiful, and to J. Michael Straczynski's credit, he did one of the best things ever on television. Now, it is a little dated. It would be very nice to get some updated computer graphics and like get a real HD version of this at this juncture. I think that's really all that's needed for the show. But he actually tried to restart Babylon 5, get more going, get a lot of different projects off the ground over the years. And I noticed a trend as I was like going through this again and circling back through all of my notes and files on this and all, which I have a lot. And it seems like I think he just kind of stepped on himself this entire way because he's got a pattern that was established not only with Babylon 5, but almost every single company he's worked with that seems to be a problem indicative with just him being difficult to work with rather than anything else. And so what could have been? There could have been a Crusade show maybe that lasted, a Legend of the Rangers show that lasted, movies, etc. Maybe if he played his cards a little better and was a little easier to work with on this front. But let's get into this news and check this out as we do kind of a Babylon 5 retrospective here, guys. This is your place for science fiction news. I really appreciate you being here. I am a science fiction writer myself, and I have been covering everything in sci-fi for a long time. And if you like Babylon 5, I think you'll really love my Stars Entwined series. This is my Arishan War. A lot of inspiration from J. Michael Straczynski growing up. Honestly, I went to a lot of his talks on writing. I read his book on script writing early on, and if anything, it inspired me to be a writer and a journalist, at the same time, as he started his career in journalism as well. And so, I kind of took what he did and made it my own. And, of course, have a hugely different perspective because I'm not a crazy left-wing activist like he is, which is unfortunate to see how he's kind of changed in recent years. But, yes, if you enjoy science fiction, you're going to love this. It is a epic space opera. It is a beautiful testament to Babylon 5. And so the Stars Entwined, the Arishan War trilogy, beautiful stuff right here. And I'm building a new series out of this, which is a space exploration series. A new starship launching and going off into the bold new worlds. I'm trying to not use the line. And this is a great universe. If you like this, we're just doing it in novels. That way nobody steps on me or does anything. I always wondered, after the great trilogy of trilogies of novels of Babylon 5, why there weren't more expanding that universe. But there's kind of a reason for it, and we'll get into that in just a moment. So please support our channel, hit the like and subscribe button, read, guys. This is great stuff. It's available on audiobook as well if you prefer that way. I'll have that in the description below. One more thing, I do have a Substack now. I've got a Plague of Shadows, which is a Babylon 5 fan fiction I'm writing. And this right here is going to basically continue the Crusade story where, spoilers, humanity had a virus that was going to just kill everybody on Earth within 5 years. They're all quarantined off at this point. The Starship Excalibur went out and was trying to find a cure for that, and it never finished, really. So I kind of have... This is definitely not Straczynski's vision of it. It is my story and my version of what I would have done. And again, this is how a franchise could have developed if, other writers got involved and, something bigger could have been built out for this. It would have been a lot of fun. This is for free, of course, because this is fan fiction. I'm just doing it for fun, and love for you to check this out. I'll have this in the description below as well. If you love Babylon 5, I think you're really going to dig this. So thank you, guys. All right. So Babylon 5, it was a tough sell to begin with the entire time. He was pitching this in the late 80s and something that he always wanted to do on TV, do this big sprawling epic as a TV show that really every episode compounded upon the last. And, he actually pitched it to Paramount, oddly enough, and they declined it. And then suddenly there's Deep Space Nine, which is very eerily similar to Babylon 5 on that level. Something that is something worth head-scratching to this day. Now, they won't admit it, of course, but it is something that both of these came out at exactly the same time. You got your space station. You got very similar characters. You got very similar war arcs going on. Interesting stuff. Now, Babylon 5 came out, and of course it was a fight the whole way because of just the way he wanted to tell the stories. And in the first season, he had a bunch of different writers come in. It looked a lot more like a traditional TV show. And he actually did what Gene Roddenberry did, brought in people like Harlan Ellison, brought in great writers like Peter David, brought in some other great writers who also came from television and the like, and really started building from there. And so it felt a lot like a Star Trek sort of deal. And, different, of course, but interesting on that level. And this became something that, like, of course, a lot of the fans got onto right away because the quality of writing was just so high, much like the original Star Trek had a lot of real science fiction writers writing for them, and so it was much the same. And so he had this going along. Season 2, Straczynski writes the bulk of the episodes himself, and it starts going. Season 3, he writes it all himself. And so he starts isolating himself really from everybody else because this is his baby, it's his project. And the things that made it great on that level in the writing, because it's so consistent on that level, might have also been like the political and social undoing that kind of like torpedoed this as things went along. Now, Season 4, what happened on this was they wrapped up a lot of the plot lines that were supposed to bleed over into about half of Season 5, which is why Season 5 feels so weird if you've watched Babylon 5. And so because of that, they weren't sure if they were going to get a 5th season. Sure enough, the show ended up getting canceled. Now, Straczynski was able to parlay that and move that over to TNT for that 5th season at the last minute. And that's why we lost a couple of actors along the way. Claudia Christian being one of them, which is, sad for that. Tracy Scoggins did a great job when she came in kind of replacing her, but it didn't quite feel right, and everything about the 5th season felt a little slow because really the main plot line had ended. Now, he did a few TV movies and the like, and they really didn't do that well. And so the 5th season was not exactly where it should have been. Crusade launches. Crusade is the sequel. He started it off with a pilot called A Call to Arms, and neat concept. A Call to Arms was really good. Crusade felt weird again, and to me, what really threw me off about Crusade a bit was a couple of unlikable characters, which was made it for tough. Now they could have grown and progressed if he was allowed to continue. And the music was just didn't fit, and they tried to do too much with CGI where it wasn't there, and so it looked kind of corny when they did a lot of their CGI graphics. And so those three things made it a much tougher watch than Babylon 5, which was mostly a procedural drama at a static location where people were talking more rather than an action adventure, which is what Crusade ended up trying to be. So that died after 13 episodes, even though it had a season that was supposed to build up this big arc. At the end of the first season, beginning a second season, they were supposed to fix this whole plague situation, which is what I'm writing here because it never got aired or finished. And with that, they were supposed to build up a bigger plot, also dealing with like the allies of the shadows and the like, which could have been pretty interesting. Now, he blamed the network. He blamed other people on this, and this is again where I first saw this. And at the time, I was like, yeah, screw the network, screw Hollywood, and I still have that attitude. I don't think he's necessarily wrong, but I do think that when you are fighting with the network because you want abject control, because you're extremely autistic about things, you might have some problems. Now, J. Michael Straczynski has admitted in the past that he's got Asperger's syndrome, and I've seen this and been a recipient of, when he doesn't like some of my coverage, him just kind of going off on me personally and the like, which is too bad. I try not to hold it against him. He's got enough with his rabid anti-Trump leftism, anti-Christian sort of thing he's got going on, which is really sad. But at the same time, he's got the talent, so of course I recognize that. You can kind of split that. If you're an adult and you're rational, you can kind of compartmentalize as best as you can. Now, I've been the recipient of that. I know Tachyon Pulse podcast, and they're not, on the right like me, so it's a different thing. They're just reporting Star Trek news and rumors and things like that. They reported a lot of Babylon 5 rumors and were correct, and he did the same thing on them. A pattern starts to emerge with this kind of Asperger's, I don't get the reporting I like, I don't get the exact thing I want, and this is, autism's got benefits, autism's got drawbacks, right? And the benefits are, of course, the extreme attention to detail that made this beautiful, that made it what it is. The drawbacks of it, we're having a nuanced discussion on YouTube. I know this is very difficult. The drawbacks, of course, are that, if you don't get that perfection, it really almost physically injures the person to where he kind of goes off the rails. We've seen this quite a bit, and of course, I think Elon Musk kind of has a similar proclivity. We saw him doing this week as well, right? And that's what made me kind of think about this as a video. So that was the first one. The network screwed with it. The network was the problem. Well, maybe he was a little hard to work with, and at this point, you in Hollywood, you do have to play a game onto some level, and you do have to be sort of a little savvy with that. And that's where I think this kind of starts to go off the rails, because I start to see the pattern. Legend of the Rangers, a next series, if you've not seen Legend of the Rangers, it was pretty rough, of the Rangers, B5, was a TV movie, which was meant to serve as a pilot to also do the same sort of like continuing what he wanted to do with the Crusade stories. It ended up on a different network, Sci-Fi channel. Now, this one went out, and he blamed the fact that it aired against the NFL playoffs for its ratings being low and not working. I just think that at this point, like, Crusade kind of just made a lot of fans kind of tune out because they weren't into it. You moved to Sci-Fi channel, which is already kind of niche-y on this level. It got bigger, but at this point, it wasn't really ready for something like this. And Babylon 5 really hadn't continued on in syndication or gotten like this groundswell, because he canceled all the books, he canceled all the comics, those were gone, and never really continued those on. He started moving into the comic industry around this point. I don't know why he didn't just bring this to Image Comics or something like that if they weren't going to publish anything. I think he partially blames the studios for rights on that and the like again. But you start to see the pattern at this point. The studio was the problem. They aired it at the wrong time. Well, again, this just wasn't the best movie, and there was massive problems with it. The one thing you really remember from it, I haven't probably watched this in 20, 25 years or whatever it's been, maybe more. The one big problem with it was like the space combat. You have this woman suspended in space, like punching things like it's karate to like shoot the laser weapons, and it looks so stupid. I mean, it really was like a bad representation of space fighting. Interesting idea, but it really came across really bad. And when you have poor execution like that, the poor execution is what stuck out. So, of course, this never caught fire, never caught fan attention, and it just kind of died on the vine again. So this was not the last, of course, attempt to revive Babylon 5. There's been a lot over the years. He'd been working on a feature film in the background over and over again. And so now we've got two instances of the network or three instances, really. WB screwed it up by canceling it because, that's why season 5 is not so good. TNT screwed it up because they were trying to give me too many notes. I couldn't even deal with it. Can't even. So that ended Crusade. Then on top of that, and then they aired it at the wrong time. This is a problem right here. So instead of actually like trying to work with everybody and do things, I think we have a problem here that's becoming a pattern. Because once you get 3 instances, it's a pattern. And it doesn't end at that point. All right. So now he starts to make a feature film, and he starts working on this for years. He's also working in comics at the same time, where this same pattern emerges. He starts working on a book called Rising Stars at Top Cow, which was, kind of a little bit of a like Watchmen, not Watchmen sort of concept. And so it was good, entertaining. And he starts having contract deals and problems with it. So he pauses and doesn't finish the book during this entire deal. And you go, huh. And it was getting a lot of buzz at the time. People really loved it, and then it just didn't materialize. And of course, finally, when it came back later, it was too late, and people had lost interest in the issues by that point, and it kind of sabotaged that world, which was building very well at the time as well. At Marvel, same thing. Every time there would be some negative feedback for one of the storylines he put out there, he blamed Marvel editorial and just said they were the ones who were the problem. Now, this came with one of the most controversial Spider-Man stories in history called Sins Past. I've read all this stuff, guys. I'm very, very detailed in this. I should be a Babylon 5 historian, if anything. But with Sins Past, the whole craziness was Norman Osborn knocked up Gwen Stacy to make these clone kids who were grown too fast because of the Goblin Serum, and they hated Peter Parker because of that. And so you sit there and you go, wow, this ruins the character of Gwen Stacy because she became just a whore who just hooked up with Norman Osborn. That's disgusting. Like, what an insult to the past of this. And so, of course, he revealed that his original plan was to have Peter have had a kid out of wedlock and Gwen Stacy do that, which wouldn't have made things better. I mean, editorial kind of softened it by making it Norman Osborn, because at least just Gwen Stacy ruined. You would have just kind of cast a shadow on Peter at that point. which would have wrecked the character quite worse. And of course, that went even further. Had a fight with editorial, quit Spider-Man and rage quit eventually, and that ended up being a problem on that level. Next, he had more problems with Marvel Comics and eventually rage quit in the middle of a Fantastic Four run, rage quit in the middle of his Thor run, which didn't quite finish. And you see a pattern here, and he blames editorial, blames the corporate on this. Okay. Now, again, I'm sympathetic because Hollywood does give notes. The editorial at Marvel does give notes, and it's annoying to have to deal with for sure. That's why I write my own things, and that's why I don't do corporate properties and have never even attempted to do so. But when you play that game, again, you come with certain expectations. These are not your characters. Like, you're playing with somebody else's sandbox, so you kind of got to play by the rules a little bit. And that's just kind of where it is. And his sort of attitude and fighting and probably the little Asperger's syndrome caused problems where he burnt a lot of bridges in comics as well. Did the same thing, went to DC Comics, started a Superman run. He only went for about 6 issues of a planned 12, nuked it again, and somebody else had to come in and finish it again. So we're seeing this happen across the board at every single company he works with. At some point, it becomes looks like this is his problem more than the network problems. And again, I'm not unsympathetic. I don't like corporate networks. I think they do cause problems as well, but it can't be this often every single time, or you kind of got to look at yourself and say, okay, maybe I'm trying to exude too much control over all this stuff, and I need to give a little bit of that up to get things done and to get things, of course, moved on. So with this Babylon 5 movie, apparently the sticking point was they wanted a lot of new characters with younger actors and the like, well-known names and the like, and didn't want to bring back a lot of the Babylon 5 staples. And the main storyline, of course, had 2 characters as the main characters who were not Babylon 5 staples, who were going to be played by younger actors anyway. So I'm very confused, and I wish I could see the actual memos on this because, again, Straczynski seemed to write that plot and seemed to actually do that, so that doesn't feel like that's the reason it got canceled. But it eventually, like, he said it was greenlit, he said it was going, it didn't end up going, it got canceled again, he blamed the studio again. And so it seems like there's a big problem here. This is the 4th time with Babylon 5. Now he's got 3 comic book companies that he hates as well. So now he's got 7 instances of this going on by the time he gets the Lost Tales going. Now, the Lost Tales direct to DVD, and it had some minor problems, of course. It had low budget, and so, of course, it felt like Babylon 5 was empty, didn't feel right on it. They didn't have enough extras to make it feel like a real world, and extras cost money. And so there was a problem there with budget. And so they were going to do more, and apparently he had budget demands and just refused to do it at that point, which killed that too. Now, there's been a bunch of Babylon 5 revival attempts as well, where he's attempted to reboot it. He's wanted it to go. The latest animated film, for example, actually put it into a multiverse so that he could reboot it. And oh gosh, what a painful concept. Why would you do a multiverse at this point and try to do a reboot with younger actors? Didn't you just cancel a movie a few years back because you didn't want younger actors replacing them? Well, now they have a new CW version, which was going to be happening, and they were going to do exactly that. Now, this was apparently shopped around for a long time, and it got hit with problems with the Hollywood writers' strike and everything like that. That kind of just because of business considerations ended up killing it. Now, what happened with the studios after this, from what I hear from, again, Tachyon Pulse, who was writing and reporting this the entire way, they say that they wanted to they like the idea of Babylon 5. They want this to be a franchise. They want things to go on, but maybe without Straczynski's involvement directly. And so this becomes pretty interesting because, again, Warner Brothers owns this IP, not really him. I guess he's got some say in it. So we'll see what happens at this front. But he also, at the same time that this Babylon 5 reboot got shelved and gone, which was going to be happening, which, again, I don't think people want a reboot and a retelling and a change or anything like that. What I do is the soft reboot way, which is Babylon 5, The Next Generation, or something like that, which is exactly what Star Trek did, which made it actually succeed. When you actually maintain continuity, you have new characters, you move on, it works out pretty well. And for some reason, Hollywood studios don't like to do that. They like to do these reboots and reboots and reboots and prequels. And all fans hate those every single time. So this is a project that was kind of doomed to fail again. And he hasn't said that he's mad at the studios or anything like that, but he did leave this big thing saying he's flouncing from the United States, moving to England, trying to work on British TV, which tells me he's pissed at the studios and doesn't even want to work with Hollywood anymore. So it seems like this whole deal, him being a very stubborn person, maybe with a little Aspie sort of situation going on here, might have caused all the problems of Babylon 5 along the way. And again, it does lend like to the question, why aren't there Babylon 5 novels that have kept going on during this entire deal? Why aren't there Babylon 5 comics that have kept on during this entire deal? Seems like a no-brainer. If J. Michael Straczynski penned a comic book, and he's been writing a lot of comic books that had Babylon 5 on it, I know everybody would buy it. Farscape actually continued its series by doing comic books like that, and it worked out really well. The fans loved it. So what's going on here that's not happening and not going on? Now, there was one attempt to reboot Babylon 5 novels, and it was by a group called Mongoose Publishing. And they actually went through and they commissioned 6 novels, and they had the rights to the tabletop RPG, and they thought they had the rights to the books just based on this, and it turned out it was like some contract misunderstanding. They went very far along in the process. They even printed some of the books. I've actually got Claudia Christian's. Yes, Claudia Christian Ivanova actually wrote one of the books, which continued her stories aboard the EAS Titans, which was pretty cool. And Straczynski and Warner Brothers came in and squashed it and just said, no, you don't have the rights to this, and just really just torched that entire publisher because of that. So it seems like when there's like a will there for people to do this, but it causes a problem because, again, control, and just like an inability to like give up anything and like actually work with other people seems to be the trend here. And that's what I think's happened with Babylon 5. So that's what we're doing. And that's exactly why, again, like I've seen this need. I'm a novelist. I write all the time. I write every day like Straczynski does, and I've got my science fiction books. I've got my comics. Of course, I'm blacklisted from Hollywood and the like because of politics, which is fine. I'm just doing my own thing, and I love it. And this is just a passion project I'm working on because I love Babylon 5. I wish I saw this story conclude. And, I'm doing my own deal because it's mine. And I'd love for you to read it, and it's for free, of course, because it's a fan fiction. And a lot of authors at my stature and all that don't bother with fan fiction or any of that. Shows how much I love Babylon 5 and the like. Interesting pattern over the years, and I kind of just wish Straczynski could get over it so we could actually like build this, because this Babylon 5 universe is so much better than anything else we've seen in science fiction, and it's really, really tragic to me to see that this went on. So check this out, guys. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think. Also, check out the Stars Entwined. This is my series. This is my baby of a universe. Again, I owe Straczynski a lot for inspiring me to become an author. I know that just he makes him mad for whatever reason, but he did. I am a full-time author and a full-time pop culture entertainment journalist, really largely because of him. So if you like that, I guarantee you're going to love this. Check it out. It's in the description below. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll be back soon.